I will start with some words about our company. I'm here with a group of colleagues. So we have Rob, Jacques, Jackie, Sam is here as well. So colleagues from Ivory Coast, Madagascar, and Taiwan. Each of them will run a small presentation, but I was asked to introduce you to our group Imperial Brand PLC. Couple of numbers about the group. It's quite an old company. It was founded in Nottingham I think in 1908, something like that. So more than 100 years of history. We're number 4 in tobacco business in the world. We always say excluding China, because China itself is consuming and producing half of the cigarettes on the world, on the planet. We have produced 145 billion cigarettes equivalent in 2015. Our operating profit was £3 billion in 2015. We're in the top 30 of the London Stock Exchange. You might know the FTSE. We run in 160 markets, have approximately 32,000 employees around the globe, and have around 44 manufacturing sites. So those are key numbers about our company. We split our brands into 2 categories, what we call growth brands. And growth brands, they're basically the ones which are providing the most growth, and that's where we invest most as well. If you're from this region of South Africa places, you might not know loads of our brands on the top, but maybe more in the bottom in specialist brands. You think things like Cohiba or Monte Cristo if you are a cigar smoker. So we call ourselves a multi-tobacco product company. So we do cigarettes, cigars, mass market cigars, papers and tubes as well, so rolling papers. I think we're number 1 in the world, and we recently engaged in e-cigarettes as well, electronic cigarettes. As I said before, we run our business in around 160 markets, and like we classify our brands in kind of growth and specialist brands, we also classify our markets in the same kind of things. We have so-called key return markets. So return markets, they're basically where we have the majority of our profit pool. And growth markets, smaller volumes but bigger opportunity for growth. USA, we run it separately. Last year we had an acquisition of a former US business called Reynolds. I don't know if you know that place. So USA is currently run as a separated business unit. Our values, they're keys. I think, Johan, you were talking about how values are important in a company. So our values are pretty simple. I am, we can, we enjoy, I engage, I own, and we surprise. That's the how we should be doing the business on a daily basis. And they're critical, actually, to achieve in a lean environment. We'll see later on that living the values is really one of the most important things, most probably. You've seen on the first chart we have multiple companies around the globe. So Imperial Tobacco, which I'm employed by, is basically our subsidiaries who does cigarettes and mass market cigars, some of the smokeless tobaccos, paper and tubes. When you look at our manufacturing footprint, as I said, around 45 manufacturing sites around the globe. We are everywhere, I would say, except South America. In the US, our biggest base is Europe. As I said initially, Imperial Tobacco is a UK-based company. Has mainly grown through acquisitions. So if you take it in 1908, we were only based in the US, partly in the US, but also in England, and it has grown through acquisition. You've seen one of the numbers at the start. We were on 135 billion sticks equivalent now. When Imperial Tobacco started round of acquisition, I think we were around 25 billion sticks. So that's been a very important growth. But on the other hand, it is now what we call a shrinking business because our volumes around the globe are constantly shrinking. That's all for Imperial as a group. I'll now talk about my experience or our factory experience of preparing for lean. As Rob said, we've engaged with CDI in March, I think 2016, so it's just 6-7 months ago, something like that. But I wanted to give you a bit of context. Johan was explaining the very fast growth of a business you're working in the dairy industry in South Africa. Our business in Morocco is a completely shrinking business. The total size of the market in Morocco is about 16 billion sticks. And the factory I'm running, I've got the capacity to make those 16 billion sticks. But, and the history of the business in Morocco, it's an acquisition the group made, and it was a privatization, basically. So a national business became a private business. So that's a very old business with old habits, with old ways of working. But it's also a shrinking business because when the business was privatized, the doors were open to competition, basically. And from a market size where we had basically 100% of the market, we're now down to 50% of the market. Very recently, we lost 25% of our volume base, basically in one go. We had a contract with Philip Morris, you know the brand Marlboro, most probably. So we were making products for Philip Morris, and from one day to the other, they decided to go to Turkey and to make those products in Turkey for Morocco, so instead of in-house. So on 31st of December 2015, we lost basically 2.5 billion sticks. So we went from 10 to 7.58 billion, 10.5 to 8 basically. In the meantime, and before that loss, we went through a big exercise, which was more, I would call that tools and toys. Do you agree, Rob? So we did implement a so-called lean system, or lean tools and toys. So we were accustomed to problem solving, to calculating OEE, to kind of things which we never had to deal with before. At the same time as those things, we also had a major increase in cost. When basically you lose 25% of volume, you have an under-absorption of cost, and your overhead cost is costing you an enormous amount of money. So not exactly the same situation, growth situation, but as I said, a shrinking situation which led to a big loss of engagement. We use a global company to run engagement surveys, and we basically lost this year 25% of engagement score. A constant view on people that were doing what, a very what organization, but not a lot of how, and a big question mark on the way we were living the values. So it was basically exactly the time we needed to make a big change in that organization. In the meantime, we were already in contact with CDI, and it was basically because of that sustainability issue on our previous lean program, we were looking at something more people-driven, people-directed, I would say. So time for change. We decided to embark in I would call that a preparation work, and we believe now it's a good prep work when you want to embark in something like MBUs or mission team directives. I think we have, so everybody understands MBUs as well. And we basically thought if we want to be successful in implementing a lean program, we need to start with leadership, because at the end of the day, if you want things to go down to the path, to the production side, you need to start with leadership. And that's the concept, basically, I call that the concept of the inverted pyramid, or the inverted organization pyramid, where we were coming pretty much from a talent check. So I'm the boss, I'm telling you what you need to do, and then I will come and check what you do. The next level is doing exactly the same thing, looking for the boss and telling the base, I'm the boss, I'm telling what you need to do, and I will come and check what you do. And we really had to change that thing into a more, I call that coach and support organization, where basically the people who are doing are there to be supported by the bottom, hence having that inverted pyramid. So we used that program, which was already, as I said, exactly driven and done only for management, leadership, down to the supervisor level, but was not touching the base of the organization. The core of it was taking people outside of work in a remote place, have fun as much as possible, but work on 4 pillars. First one is self-awareness. We realized, and that was through experience as well, that if you don't know yourself, you most probably don't know the other, and you don't know how to, communication is so important in an organization, and you can easily make mistakes because not knowing yourself, you don't know that people might be different from you. If you know people are different from you, you can assess communication better, you can communicate better, you can have a better exchange. So a base was really self-awareness. We used, you have multiple tools of self-awareness. We use something called DISC, which is a bit like LSI or those kind of tools, maybe you've heard of them, which is basically telling yourself who you are, how do you react to certain things, what kind of personality profile you have. And positioning you in that profiling and understanding the profile of others was quite critical as a start. Coaching and feedback was the next step. So as soon as you know yourself, you can better coach, you can better understand, you can receive and give more easily feedback. The next part was change awareness. As I said, going to lean and having faced those issues in terms of volume loss or of engagement loss, having the capability to position yourself in a change curve. You all know the change curve, we call it the grief curve as well. And it was basically making people understand what is their impact and how they can drive the change instead of waiting for the change to drive them. I always use the analogy of a bus. If change was a bus on a road, you have certain ways. You can stop the bus, and maybe the bus will stop, or you can drive the bus. And if you drive the bus, you're certain that you will be on the change path. And last part was starting thinking about goal alignment, which we finalized, of course, with CDI on the True North module. But it was really looking at, what is the objective of the company? What is our context? When you lose volume, you think, who is my competitor? What makes me lose those volumes? So people really needed to identify where they were sitting in terms of that change. So that's basically what we did, and I brought up a couple of pictures. So this was a kind of peer coaching where people were really feedback coaching each other. I'm quite quick, Rob, you see? Next one was working together, so really doing teamwork and thinking on how can we influence stuff. And just as an example, on this table and in this group, we had 3, we call them shift leaders. And they hadn't talked to each other for about 3 months because they couldn't get along with each other. And they're all sitting around that table. And they even had a session on feedback and coaching, which was driven by our consultant, where they went up to crying because they realized, purely because of the self-awareness aspect and the awareness of the other, that everything was led to a misunderstanding, or there was no misalignment, they had the same goal, but they basically missed something, which was understanding the other. And finally, and I think if it's a Moroccan environment, when you see people dancing in Morocco, that really means they are very happy. So, and this is my final slide. Thank you.